Welcome to this inspiring message brought to you by KingsWord Media Outreach, a part of KingsWord Ministries International. We hope this teaching inspires you and transforms you into all that God has destined you to be. Please stay tuned for more information about KingsWord Ministries International following this message. May God bless you as you listen.
I have a strong, powerful voice. I may not need a mic, so. Oh, y'all are so sweet. You can be seated. I just want to say how much I am just so excited to be with y'all. You have no idea how much I've been looking forward to this and how much I love your pastors with all my heart. You have no idea how much I love them. I feel like we're family, don't you? I can't pronounce their last names, but I sure love them. I always tease them if I just sneeze. Just one. Like, it just comes out right? How many of you were here when I was here 5 years ago? Oh, my goodness. Man, that's longevity, isn't it? I've missed y'all. Missed you too. I mean, I love this church. I fell in love with you the first time we came here. And then we had such a good time in London. Was anybody in London with us? Y'all were there? Oh my goodness. Are you British? You are? How cute. We just want to hear them talk, don't we? Well, again, thank you so much for having me. And I just want you to know, I woke up this morning near Dallas, Texas, where we live. And, I always work out in the morning. When I finished, I went in my kitchen, and I was just walking around the island, just praying for all of you, and just believing God the right people would be here tonight. That this is a divine appointment. So I believe God already knew you were going to be here, and he has a word for you. You believe it? Well, I'm going to talk about your dreams and your goals. Because me not talking about your dreams is like Taylor Swift not singing about an ex-boyfriend. It's just not going to happen, right? In fact, I heard T.D. Jakes say, I was listening to him, and he said, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And then he said it a different way. He said, what are you going to do with the life you have left? Now, of course, he was shouting and sweating and stuff, so it sounded more powerful coming from him. But really and truly, when you think, what are you going to do with the life you have left? Because time is ticking, isn't it? We got to get moving. How many of you don't want to repeat what you did last year? We want to keep going to the next level, right? Well, I heard somebody say the worst day in heaven would be when God gives you a glimpse of all that you could have had, all that you could have done, and all that you could have been. But for some reason, you just gave up. You didn't believe. But that's not who you are, is it? And I just want to say real quick, before I get into the message, that you can't sit around and wait for other people to believe in your dream and to come along and cheer you up and tell you got the right dream. Because you have to remember, God hasn't necessarily told them what he's told you about your future. Right? They're not listening to God for your life. They're listening for their own life. So you have to learn to become your own best cheerleader. In fact, I heard Dr. Daniel Amen, he has this 18-40-60 rule. He said, when you're 18, you kind of worry what everybody thinks about you. Then when you're 40, you don't care what anybody thinks about you. Then when you're 60, you realize nobody's been thinking about you. Too busy thinking about their own life, right? So we just have to make up our minds that we're going to do what God's told us to do, right? So, I heard somebody one time compare life to the game of football. They said life is a lot like football. At a football game, there's like 60,000 people who desperately need exercise, watching 22 men who desperately need rest. But they said, life is like football because most people watch from the sidelines. Very few people get off the bleachers and get in the game, right? But I believe you are in the game or you wouldn't have come out on a Saturday night to build your faith, right? To learn about your future. But the thing is, I believe it's going to take a lot of drive, a lot of ambition, a lot of faith to stay in the game, right? You know, I think it could be compared to what happens with a locomotive. Do you know the toughest part about a train is getting it started? Do you know a massive locomotive can be prevented from moving 1 inch by putting little blocks of wood in front of the wheels? But do you know once that train gets up to full speed, not even a steel reinforced wall, concrete wall 5 feet thick can stop it, right? See, that's what happens in your life when you develop the drive, the ambition, the faith to go after the dreams God's put in your heart. There's no force from hell that can stop you from achieving those dreams. But we got to get the ambition, don't we? So I have a little acronym for you tonight that spells the word drive, D.R.I.V.E. You ready? Okay, so the D stands for decision. How everything in life begins with a decision. And when I say a decision, what I mean by that is a decision on your part to take 100% responsibility for your life. 100% responsibility. That means you take responsibility for where you are right now in your life. So that means you say, I'm responsible for my health, my wealth, my debt, my success, my achievements, my failures. I'm responsible for where I am right now. You know, I read a lot of success books, and so many of them start out by saying the first thing you have to do is take responsibility for your life. And you know, some of you have heard of Zig Ziglar. You remember the great Zig Ziglar? He said years ago when he was just this young aspiring speaker, he's sitting in a conference like this, and he said he heard this motivational speaker make this statement. He said, "You are where you are because that's exactly where you chose to be." He said, "I was broke, in debt, and down in the dumps." But he said it came through loud and clear that I was where I was and what I was because of me. And of course, he started making decisions to turn his life around, right? Well, you know, Jim Rohn, who was also a great motivator, he said there's certain emotions that can lead you to change your life. He said one of those emotions is the word disgust. Now, we normally don't equate the word disgust with positive action, do we? But do you know that being disgusted with yourself can actually serve as vision and momentum to get you to change? You know, for example, seeing a picture of yourself overweight, that can be enough disgust that you say, I've had it. I'm making a decision, right? Or maybe being at the grocery store and maybe you couldn't pay for all your groceries, so you got to put some of them back. That can be enough disgust that you say, I'm not living like this anymore. I'm making a decision. Or being at a restaurant with your friends and maybe your credit card is declined right in front of them. That can be enough disgust that you say, okay, I've had it. I'm drawing a line. I'm making a decision. I'm making some changes. So disgust is what we reach when we're tired of being ashamed, embarrassed, humiliated with some part of our life, and we say, I'm making a change, right? Well, you know, I heard this story about this young guy named Tim. He said he grew up middle class, and he had 5 brothers and 1 sister. And he said when he was when he was 11 years old, his dad was killed in a tragic car accident. Well, he said when he lost his dad, he was so angry on the inside that he just started acting out on all that pinned up anger. And he said, I got so messed up. He said, I started feeling sorry for myself. I was mad at the world, and I just started, destroying my life. Well, he said he was living in the fast lane. He started selling drugs. Then he got caught, and he was arrested, convicted, and sent to prison. Well, while Tim was in prison, he said he started reading books, and just discovering more about life. As he's reading those books, he started realizing he was responsible for where he was. He said, I have nobody to blame. I'm the one who made the choices that led me to where I am today. And he said, as he's in that prison reading those books, he just started getting ideas. And he thought, what if I started putting together some prison talent shows? So he did. He put these talent shows together, and he was the MC of the night. And he said all of a sudden he recognized that he had this gift for humor. Well, once he got out of prison, he thought, I'm going to pursue acting. So he started getting a job at this talent agency. Well, Disney found out about him and really liked him, so they offered him a part in a movie. He turned it down because he said, no, I've got my own idea for a talk show or a TV show about a handyman on TV. That was Tim Allen, and that was Home Improvement. Now, Tim Allen said, 13 years after being released from prison. He was the star in the top TV program in America. He had a #1 New York Times best-selling book, and he had a leading role in a major motion picture called The Santa Claus. He said, I went from drug pusher to box office millionaire because I made a decision. He made a decision to turn his life around. Isn't that amazing? You know, I was sharing that story in Los Angeles this year, and a guy in the audience afterwards came up to me and said, I'm the opening act for Tim Allen. I'm going to tell Tim what you said. Next thing I know, Tim Allen sent me an autographed picture. Said, thanks for telling my story. So it starts with a decision, doesn't it? The next point, the R, it stands for a routine. A routine. Now, what I mean by that, when I say a routine, have you ever heard that phrase that people are rewarded in public for what they practice in private? People are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. In fact, a famous quote is, champions don't become champions in the ring, they're just recognized there, right? It's everything that's going on behind the scenes that leads you to where God wants you to be. In fact, you remember in the Bible how David, he killed a lion and he killed a bear in private with nobody watching. But that prepared him to kill Goliath in public with everybody watching, right? So it's what you're doing behind the scenes that's preparing you for greatness. In fact, years ago, when I was just falling apart, this was back in 2002, I had no dreams, no goals for my life. Everything about my life was just a repeat of the year before. And I was going through the hardest time I'd ever been through in my life. Well, I didn't have like a success coach come to my house and lay out a growth track for me, nothing like that. I was just so desperate for change. Remember, it starts with a decision, right? And I just made up this little plan for myself. I said, I'm going to make myself listen to one faith-building message every day for 21 days. Now, most of you know psychologists say if you do something consistently for 21 days, you can break an old habit and start a new one, right? So I said, okay, for 21 days, I'm going to make myself do this. Well, then I thought, well, when can I do this and really be consistent? So I thought, well, I could do it in the morning while I'm getting ready because I got to get ready anyway. It takes a long time to look like this, so I might as well. No, really, you have no idea. But I said, I might as well do it while I'm getting ready. So I got a CD player. I went over to my parents' house, and I stole a bunch of their CDs. And I put this little Post-it note on the mirror that said, push play, because I wasn't disciplined yet. So I walked in there that first morning, saw the Post-it, oh yeah, push play. I pushed the button, and I started putting my makeup on. Well, I did it again the next day, did it again the next day. Well, at the end of 21 days, I thought, I don't want to stop. I'm going to do 30 days. Well, at the end of a month, I thought, I'm going to do 2 months. Well, that was in 2002, and I haven't stopped. This morning, I woke up near Dallas, Texas, listening to Joel Osteen. But here's the thing. During that season of those first 21 days, I was listening to a message by John Maxwell. And in that message, he made this statement that I've never forgotten. He said, if I could come to your house and watch you for 24 hours, I could tell whether or not you're going to be a success or a failure. He said, you pick the day, but let me just watch you from the moment you wake up till you go to bed that night. He said, just by observing you in one day, I can tell in what direction your life is going to go. He said, a lot of times when I say that at conferences, people get mad and they think it's an arrogant thing to say. He said, no, the reason I say that is because the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. So it's what you're doing on a daily basis that's leading you closer to your dreams or further from them. So you have to think about that. So I just started making a few small changes in my routine. Like I started learning things like the most successful people in the world use their drive time to listen to audios. So I thought, well, I got to drive to work anyway. I might as well push play. You know, they say the average American spends 20 minutes in their car driving to work and 20 minutes back home. Just the average American. After doing that for 5 years, if you push play, that's the equivalent of a college education. Just listening to audio teaching on your way to work, on your way home. Isn't that amazing? So I thought, I can do this. Then I started hearing things like, the wealthiest people in the world read for 20 or 30 minutes every day. In fact, have you ever heard that statement that if you want to know where your life is headed over the next 5 years, it can be determined by the books you read and the people you hang around, right? So I started thinking, I can make myself read. Now, back then, the only books I ever read were the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleader Manual and a book about gymnastics. I hated reading, but I started making myself read just a little bit every day. In fact, how many of you have ever read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich? Have you ever read that? Okay, well, in that book, they tell this story about this woman whose house was broken into. She lived in New York City. She came back to her apartment, and someone broke in her apartment and stole all of her valuables. So her TV's gone, her jewelry, her cash, all the valuable stuff is gone. Well, when she walked in and saw the stuff was gone, she immediately ran to her library and said, "Oh, thank God they didn't take my books." She said, "The books are what taught me how to be successful. I'll get the stuff back. Thank God they left the books." So just making a few small changes can change your whole life. In fact, let me just ask you, have any of you ever been bit by an elephant? I hope not, because it's going to mess up my illustration. Has anyone been bit by a mosquito? Well, my point is, it's the little things that bite you. It's those little habits that we ignore that seem to creep up on us, right? Because how many of us can do this? We can push play while we're getting ready, can't we? That's a little habit that can absolutely change your life. It's not these big things that are so life-changing. It's those little doses every single day that lead to massive success. So, change your routine, you can change your whole life. In fact, someone sent me this article, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you about it. It was from Entrepreneur Magazine, and I thought it was pretty interesting. But let me just say, first of all, that I don't want to offend anybody with this article, because this is not my opinion, and I don't even like calling people rich people and poor people. But this was Entrepreneur Magazine. They did research on the habits of rich people versus the habits of poor people. And the whole point of this article was to just see, are wealthy people doing things that are making them so wealthy? And if we would do those habits, could we be wealthy? So what they did was they defined a wealthy person as someone earning at least $160,000 a year with $3.2 million in assets. They defined poor as someone earning under $30,000 per year with less than $5,000 in assets. So they said, let's just see, are wealthy people doing things that poor people aren't? So this is what they found out. Wealthy versus the poor, okay? They said, how many wake up 3 or more hours before they go to work? 44% of the wealthy, 3% of the poor. They said, how many listen to audio teaching during their commute to the office? 63% of the wealthy, 5% of the poor. How many read 30 minutes or more every day? 88% of the wealthy, 2% of the poor. How many exercise 4 days a week? 76% of the wealthy, 23% of the poor. How many watch reality TV? Why are y'all already laughing? 7% of the wealthy, 78% of the poor. Then they said, how many believe good habits create opportunities? 84% of the wealthy, 4% of the poor. So wealthy people believe that their daily habits have something to do with how successful they are. Poor people think my habits don't have anything to do with where I am. Isn't that interesting? So like Dave Ramsey says, if you want to be wealthy, study wealthy people. You want to be skinny, study skinny people. But the point is, I'm convinced that if we'll change a few of our habits, we can change our whole life. So it starts with a routine. You ready for the next one? The I stands for an investment. An investment. It takes an investment. And when I say the word investment, what I mean is an investment in you. An investment in yourself, an investment in your growth. Now, I mentioned a man earlier named Jim Rohn. Some of you may have heard of him or studied him. He was a great motivator. He's since gone on to be with the Lord. But he said back when he was struggling, he said, I had pennies in my pocket, I had nothing in the bank, and I was just full of excuses. He said I was blaming everybody, the government, my taxes, blaming my boss. I was blaming everybody for where I was in life. And he said all of a sudden this very wealthy man began to just kind of take him under his wing and mentor him. And he said to him, he said, Jim, he said something very, very offensive. He was really nice, but he really offended him with this statement. He said, Jim, what you have at this moment in your life, you have attracted by the person you've become. He said, if you don't have much, perhaps you haven't become much. Well, Jim was so offended by that statement. He was around 26 years old. And he said, I held up my paycheck to this wealthy man, and I said, you don't understand. He said, this is all they pay. His mentor said, no, this is all they pay you. He said, they pay others more. This is what they pay you. And then he went on to say, in fact, don't they pay others in your company 5 times this amount? And Jim said, yes. He said, if you were to qualify for 5 times this amount, wouldn't your paycheck be 5 times? And he said, yes. But then he began to teach him. He didn't just leave him with that. He said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. He said, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Now, this is a statement that I think can change your life the way it changed mine. Listen to this. He said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. You want me to repeat that? He said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. You know, doesn't the Bible say, to whom much is given, much is required? Or you could say it like this, much is required in order for much to be given. And you know, I think that's the story of what's happened in my life in the past few years. Was when I graduated from college, I went to Texas Tech University. I doubt we have any Red Raiders in the crowd here. But I graduated from Texas Tech. My degree is in French, of all things. And we had this big graduation party. My whole family's in Lubbock, Texas. I got my cap and gown on, and I think I made the dumbest statement I've ever made in my life. I announced to the family, I said, I will never study again. Because I thought, I've paid my dues. I will never pick up another book. Now, the sad thing is, I backed up my dumb promise for 11 years of my life. For 11 years. I was a ghostwriter for my favorite preacher, Jerry Savelle. For 11 years, I worked for my dad. I worked hard on my job. I wrote over 25 books for my dad. I wrote all of his magazine articles. I wrote all the copy that went out. I worked hard on my job. But I would get up at the last minute of the alarm, jump in my car, listen to music all the way to work all day long, work hard on my job, jump in the car, listen to music all the way home, get home, turn on the TV, watch it for hours, and do it again the next day, and do it again the next day. For 11 years, I lived paycheck to paycheck. I had nothing in savings, nothing in investments. I paid my car note every month, paid my credit cards every month. Every single thing about my life was average. For 11 years, no growth. All of a sudden in 2002, my marriage was this close to a divorce. I have no dreams, no goals, and I'm falling apart. And I said, something's got to change. So I said, I'm going to make myself listen to one message every day for 21 days. That was how it started. Do you want to know what happened the next 11 years after I started this little habit? I went from ghostwriting books for my dad to authoring books. I went from attending conferences to speaking at conferences. I went from watching TV for hours to hosting a TV show. What happened? I went to work harder on myself than I did on my job, and everything around me began to grow. So what would happen if we just made a few small changes of investing in ourselves? I'm absolutely convinced if you change your routine, you can change your whole life. In fact, I remember the first time, I started realizing, okay, I've got a long way to go. I need to start making an investment in myself. So I went to Joyce Meyer's website, and I, ordered a bunch of books and audios, and then, they ring it up at the end, and it came up to $60. And I remember looking at the computer going, $60? I cannot believe I'm spending $60 on faith-building resources. And then I thought, wait a minute. I would easily spend that on clothing. This is my future we're talking about. Well, do you know the most valuable thing in my house right now is my library? all those audios lined up, all those books on the shelf. That's the most valuable thing in my house right now. Because I know, and I've got a really cool shoe collection, but I'm just telling you, the thing I'm most proud of is all that stuff that I've invested in myself, because I know that's what's taken me where I am today. So what would happen if you just made a few small investments in yourself every day? You know, they say the average American watches 6 hours of TV every single day. 6 hours. They say by the time you're 60 years old, that's 15 years of your life just glued to the television, or as I like to say, watching other people live their dreams. What if you just took 20 minutes? Still watch your 5 hours and 40, but take 20 minutes to go in another room and just say, family, trust me, I need the investment, and go read a book for 20 minutes. I'm telling you, and you might go, Terri, 20 minutes is not going to change my life. 20 minutes times 30 days in a month, that's 10 hours of investing in yourself. That's going to make a difference, isn't it? 10 hours, just 20 minutes a day. So an investment. You ready for the V? Okay, the V stands for vision, my favorite topic. Vision. Now, most of you know the Bible says, Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish, right? And of course, we know the word perish means die. So if you don't, and we know die means die, right? So if we don't have a vision, that's what's happening. We're just dying on the inside. And you know, I usually tell people that you will never leave where you are until you see where you'd rather be. You have to get a vision on the inside before it ever shows up on the outside, right? So all of you know you need to have a vision. And of course, the Bible says in Habakkuk 2:2 that you have to take the time to write the vision. Texas-sized pen, yes. You got to take the time to write the vision. Now, most of you probably have heard this, but I'll just share this little statistic real quick. You know, I may have even shared this a long time ago, but the professor at Virginia Tech, I think his name is Dr. David Cole, he did research on successful people and goal setting. He said he walked up to random people on the street and he just asked them one question. He said, what are your goals for life? He said 80% of the people he asked said, I don't know, I don't have any. 80% of people walking around have no goals, no dreams for their life. 16% said, I have some dreams, but I've never written them down. 3% said, I've written my dreams at some point, but I don't know where they are. 1% said, I have dreams, I've written them down, and I review them consistently. He said, you know who the 1% were? Millionaires. Every one of them were millionaires. And he said the clues these millionaires gave us, number 1, I have dreams. Number 2, I write them down. And number 3, I review them on a consistent basis. I keep them before my eyes, right? So, you know, when I began to learn these types of things just by listening every single day, that's where I would hear stuff like this, I would think, okay, if successful people do this, I can do that. I can go somewhere by myself just for a few minutes and just write my dreams. So I did that in 2006. I went in my guest bedroom, never dreamed in a million years I would share this publicly. It was just me and God and my laptop, right? And I went in there and I just started giving myself permission to dream. And that's where it starts. And, you know, don't try to figure out, am I making this up or is it really God? Just write what comes up in your spirit. So that's what I did. I said, this was August of 2006. And I said, what is my vision? What do I even see in my future? And I wrote, sometimes it seems embarrassing to dream or to admit what you see in your heart, but here goes the best I see. So I wrote, number 1, a TV broadcast. I see myself teaching on television, and I said, I don't know why, because I've never wanted to be in the spotlight. But for some reason, I see myself on television. And then I said, number 2, books. I said, it's humbling to write this kind of stuff because I don't want to appear that I'm trying to be famous. I wrote, that's not it at all. I'm just trying to be honest about what I think I see in my future. I see books in bookstores. Number 3, conferences with a theme. I said, it's funny I have to say the theme part because I don't know what the theme is. But I see women coming from all over the world to attend these conferences. Number 4, helping troubled teenagers. I said, I don't know what God wants me to do with this, but perhaps it's because of my own past. But I see myself helping young girls who are pregnant before marriage. rescued from prostitution, eating disorders, things like that. Some of you may know my testimony, how my senior year of college, my last semester, right before I graduated, I got pregnant before marriage. My dad's a well-known preacher. I was so ashamed, so humiliated. I was laying in my apartment in Lubbock, Texas, scribbling in my journal, "I want to die." I was so ashamed of myself. I couldn't bear the thought of calling my parents and telling them that I was pregnant. And so I told my roommate, I said, "I can't tell my parents." I said, "I'm just going to run away. I'm just going to head west." And my roommate said, "No, you're not. You don't even know which way's west. We're going to get through this." Which is true, but that's not my point. But I said, we dealt with it. We got through it, So I said, "I want to help these young girls who are just ashamed and, filled with guilt and all that." Number 5, I said, a mission in France. I said, "I know I didn't study French for no reason. I'm just a girl from Texas speaking rusty French. I don't know anybody in France, but I trust God." So I wrote those 5 things down. Now, most of you know that most success coaches recommend that you imagine 5 years into the future, right? So that was 2006. By 2011, I thought, I'm going to put real pictures in my book, not just the fake pictures. Well, here I am hosting the TV show with my dad, which I did for years. And just last year, I launched my own TV broadcast. Thank you, Jesus. Here I am the first time I walked in a Barnes & Noble and saw my books on the bookshelf. And here we are. Remember I said a conference with a theme, but I don't know what the theme is? We started the Icing Women's Conference, which I was sitting in a conference just like you are. And all of a sudden, the word icing just came up in my heart. And I thought, dear God, I'm hungry. But the Lord told me to start the conference called Icing. And the reason why is because icing means something added to something good to make it even better. Cake is good, but the icing makes it better, right? So I always tell people it's one thing to have a dream for your life, but when you discover God's plan, that's the icing on the cake, right? And then here we are helping troubled teenagers, which we support girls' homes all across America. We bring these girls to the Icing Conference, rescued in safe houses right out of prostitution, teaching them how to make their dreams bigger than their memories. And then here we are in France. I just got back last month. This month. And all my books are translated in French now. We've partnered with Hillsong Church. We preach all over the nation of France. And here's the most amazing thing to me. All these dreams I just shared with you, none of them took 5 years. None of them took 5 years. I mean, by 2008, 2009, 2010, all these dreams were already happening. See, something powerful happens the moment you give yourself permission to dream and you just start writing it down. It's like all of a sudden you have programmed that GPS in your car and now you just start going right to it. So take the time to write the dream and be very specific about it. In fact, some of you have heard me say how years ago, you remember the late Kenneth Hagin? Some of you remember Kenneth Hagin? He said, so many times he would see people praying at the altar, and he would just go up to them and gently tap them on the shoulder, and he'd say, "Sweetheart, what are you praying about?" And so many times people would just say, "Oh, nothing in particular." He'd say, "Then that's exactly what you're going to get. Nothing in particular." I know exactly what I'm believing God for. If the Lord asks me, I can tell him exactly, down to the penny, exactly what I'm believing for. So be ready, right? And the thing is, not only do you need to have a dream, but you need to keep it before your eyes. This isn't something you do January 1st, put it in a nightstand, and never look at it again. See, your life moves toward the dominating images that you keep before your eyes. In fact, there's a principle in the Word of God that you become what you behold. You become what you behold. In fact, let me just show you this real quick. When I first met with my team at the office and told them the Lord still told me to start this women's conference called Icing, I said, "I want you to know what I see in my spirit." I said, "I don't see 25 women in a little ballroom." I said, "I see 25,000 in a coliseum." So I told one of the guys that works with me, I said, "Can you print out a picture of me preaching to thousands of people?" He said, "Yeah, I can do that, but there's only one problem. You've never preached to thousands of people." I said, "Well, can we make one?" So he did. He went to Joyce Meyer's conference. And he printed out this picture of Joyce's conference, but he did a little Photoshop. He took little Joyce off the stage and he put little Terri. And then he put icing in the background on the screen here. And even on the big Jumbotron on these screens, he chopped Joyce's head off and put my head on top of her body. So I'm wearing Joyce's clothing here. So he prints this out and he said, "Is that your vision?" I said, "That's my vision. That's exactly what I see in my spirit." Well, at first we laughed and thought this was so cute. You know, little Terri, little Joyce. Well, I said, "Print several copies because I want my whole team to know the vision." So he printed all these copies, you know, and we had our first meeting, and I passed these out, and I said, "This is the vision that I see on the inside. This is where we're headed." Well, at first everybody laughed and thought it was so cute. But think about it. This very picture hangs on my vision board. It's also in my vision book. So every day I'm looking at this picture, right? Well, after you look at it for a few weeks, I'm not just cracking up every time I see it. Well, then after a few months, I kind of forgot that it's a fake picture. Well, then another year goes by. It actually looks like a real picture. Well, remember what I said? You become what you behold. Whatever you keep before your eyes, it will eventually show up in your life. Here's a fake picture of me preaching to thousands. Here's a real picture of me preaching. Now, here's the thing. Whatever your vision is, keep it before your eyes. Out of sight, out of mind, right? If you're believing God to pay off your car, go get a picture of you standing in front of that car doing your victory pose. Call the bank. Find out exactly how much you owe. Write it on there. And just start looking at that picture every day and calling things that be not as if they are, right? So keep that vision before your eyes. You ready for the last point? Okay, so we got the decision, the routine, an investment, a vision. What else is it going to take? It's going to take everything you've got. Everything you've got. And the reason I'm saying that is because you're going to have to fight for your dream. I don't ever want to give you an impression that I just get a few pictures, put them in a dream book, pray over them, and they just happen, and it's the cutest thing. No, I've had to fight for every dream that I've seen come to pass in my life. In fact, Ecclesiastes 5:3, it says, "A dream comes about with much business and painful effort." Painful effort. In fact, some of you have heard me say how years ago when I was going through that horrible time, you know, when I first started this little routine, I went over to my parents' house, and I usually don't tell everybody what I'm going through. I usually try to get through it and then share the testimony, you know. But I went over to Mom and Dad's, and I was just at a breaking point. I was standing in the kitchen with my dad, and I just said, "Dad, I can't take it anymore. I just want to quit. I can't take this anymore." And my dad looked at me, and he said, "Terri, the Savelles are not quitters. You understand me?" He said, "You're going to make it through this." He said, "Quitting is not in your blood." And I just kind of stared into space, and he said, "What are you thinking?" I said, "I think I'm adopted." I'm just telling you, I've had to learn to fight. And you will too. Because, you know, Satan doesn't just roll over and play dead because we have a dream, right? We have to fight for those dreams. But I love this phrase my dad says. He says, when you feel like giving up the most, that's always an indication your breakthrough is just about to happen. When you feel like giving up the most. And, you know, you think about this. You know, today we were on an airplane. We had a lot of delays today, but we made it. But, you know, the airplanes, when airplanes take off, do you know that they don't take off with the wind? They actually take off against the wind. Do you know that the winds that are coming against you, they're not meant to keep you down. They're meant to lift you to a higher level. Everything that you've been through, it's strengthening you, it's preparing you, and it's going to take you to a higher level. In fact, you know, I think about in my own life, because a lot of times you look at people and you think, "Oh, she doesn't get it." You know, I don't. But you never know what people have been through. Even the person sitting next to you, you have no idea what they've been through. And, you know, I've shared at different success conferences, and they always want to know what it's going to take to be successful. And the thing I love is on Sunday mornings, we get to talk about the Lord and get all these businessmen born again. But they're always shocked when they hear some of the things that I've been through, even though I grew up in such a strong home. But, you know, I was raped at 14 years old. I've been in an abusive relationship. I got pregnant before marriage. I've lost a baby. I've been betrayed. I've been rejected. I've been diagnosed with skin cancer. I've been through a lot of stuff. but I've had to fight for my dream. But I'm telling you, take all those winds that are coming against you and let it lift you to a higher level. Because I believe everything you're going through is preparing you for where God wants to take you. And you know what? Let me just close out with this story. I thought this was so cute. I heard this story not too long ago. And it was about this dad who promised his little girl that he would spend Saturday with her just playing. Well, the little girl was so excited, you know, she could hardly wait. Well, the dad, he got up that morning. He's sitting at the table reading the paper. And his little girl comes running down. She's so ready to play. And she's like, Daddy, Daddy, let's go play. And he said, honey, just wait. Let me finish reading the paper. And she was just so antsy. No, Daddy, please, let's play, let's play. And he said, just give me a few more minutes. Well, she was so impatient that finally he said, okay, listen, this is what I'll do. He opened up the newspaper and he saw this picture of the world on there, this picture of the globe, you know. So he ripped it out and he tore it into little pieces and he put it on top of the table and he said, here, put this picture of the world together like it's a puzzle. And when you get finished, then we'll go outside and play. So he goes back to reading the paper, you know. Well, I mean, within 3 minutes, she's done. So he says, how did you do that so fast? She said, well, I dropped a piece. And she said, when I bent down to pick it up, I looked at the glass under the table, and on the other side of the pieces was a picture of a woman. She said, so I just turned all the pieces over. And she said, when I put the woman together, the world just fell into place. I thought, that's pretty good. When you get yourself put together, everything around you will come together. Isn't that the truth? And I believe it starts with a decision on your part. And back it up with a routine. How many of you can do this routine? We can do this, can't we? How many of you were here last night? That was day 1. Today's day 2. Tomorrow's Sunday. That's day 3. We can do the 21-day challenge, can't we? And just keep doing it. Monday morning when you get up, push play. Or you're driving to the office, push play. And then do it on the way home. And I'm telling you, by the end of 21 days, because you know the Bible says faith comes by hearing, right? By the end of 21 days, you are not going to think the way you think today. Can we do this? Yeah. Did y'all receive this tonight? Yeah. Amen. You're going to develop the drive, right? I believe it. Lucy, you want to bring that up here? I want to mention real quick what we brought. And like Pastor said, I will go back there and I would love to give every single one of you a hug. And I'll take selfies as long as you use a filter. I really embrace those filters. But I wanted to mention real quick, we brought this Imagine Big kit. And this has in it my book. It's very sturdy. It has in it my book, Imagine Big, where I'm going to teach you how to start giving yourself permission to dream. And once you start getting a dream, start practicing hearing the voice of God. That's what my dad told me to do. Practice hearing the voice of God. Then I'm going to teach you how to set goals. There's a right way and a wrong way to start setting goals for yourself. Vague goals produce vague results, right? So I'm going to teach you how to get specific. There's all kinds of stuff in here, stories you're going to love from Steven Spielberg, Jim Carrey, different people who've applied principles in their lives that come from the Word of God, and they may not even know it. So how much more for a believer, if we apply these principles, we're going to get the results, right? So Imagine Big, and then I've got in here 5 CDs. One of them is Can You Imagine? One is on conquering procrastination. One is called You Get What You Ask For. Do you know the Bible says you have not because you ask not? Do you know that you could be missing out on things in your life just because you haven't asked for it? In fact, I read, I told you I love to read success books. So I was reading this book, and it was all about the art of asking. Well, I like to read books and then find out, is it in the Bible? Well, sure enough, Bible says you have not because you ask not, but it also says ask and you shall receive, right? So I told my team, I said, let's start asking. So it took a lot of courage, but we just started asking for things. Like there was a guy who works with me who had a student loan that he had been paying on for years. And all of a sudden, the loan agency called the office and said, we are going to start garnishing your wages and take 20% of your gross pay unless you pay this thing off. Well, he owed $22,377. So he said his first thought was, I'm going to have to get a second job. Well, then he heard me preach this on asking. So he thought, I'm just going to ask. So he called the loan agency and he said, what would you settle for? They said, well, you owe $22,377. They called him back and said, we'll take $10,000. They knocked off $12,000 just because he asked. What could we be missing out on just because we haven't asked, right? And then one is on how bad do you want what you say you want. I'm going to help you elevate your desire to reach your goals. And one's on clutter clean out, how to get your house organized, get your life organized. Because do you know there's a link between organization and success? When you're faithful in the little things, God makes you ruler over many things, right? And then also we have the little dream journal in here for you to put pictures and images of what you're believing God for. And this is simple to just get out every single day before you run out the door, pray over your dreams. I've got samples in here of how I do it just to kind of get you started. So anyway, this little kit, it sells for $75 on the website. If you get it here tonight, it's $50. So hopefully that's a blessing to you. We discount it when you come out to events like this. So this is $50 for this little kit. And then I wanted to mention this. This is actually for the person who says, Lord, I need some discipline in my life. I know we all need discipline, but this was something the Lord dealt with me years ago. And to put this together because I had to become a person of discipline. So this is an investment. This is a 1-year coaching program. There's actually 12 books in here and 12 audios, one for every month. So every month you focus on one thing at a time. Like one whole month we work on your finances. That's all we work on is getting your finances in order. You know, I told you how, well, my life was such a mess, but my husband and I, we spent everything we had. Everything that came in, it went out. Well, then I started hearing things like Dave Ramsey says you need $1,000 set aside for an emergency immediately, $1,000. Well, we didn't even have that. So we started coming up with God-inspired ideas to raise $1,000. Then we started paying off our debt. Then we started discovering that you need 6 months of your monthly expenses in an emergency account. 6 months. So if your expenses, let's just say they're $3,000 a month, you need $18,000 in an emergency account that you don't even touch. Why 6 months? Because what if something happened to you and you couldn't receive a paycheck for 6 months? Could you make it? Could you make it 3 months with no paycheck? Could you make it till Friday? I'm telling you, I understand. So anyway, whole month we talk about your finances and I give you ideas that are so cool on how to raise money. A friend of mine, she did this. I put some ideas in here where she actually went to builders' homes, you know, like the model homes that they showcase. She walked in there and asked the builders, she said, if I provide you with homemade chocolate chip cookies, would you pay me 25 cents a cookie? He did, and she made $4,000. Just making homemade chocolate chip cookies. Anyway, there's ideas to just start getting your finance in order. One's on fitness, where we talk about how to get discipline in the area of fitness. One's on getting your house cleaned up for a whole month. That's all we work on is organization skills, confidence, timeline, you know, how to get good with time management. So anyway, this is a 1-year coaching program for the person who says, I don't know where to start. I just need a plan and I need some discipline. Now this is $330 on our website. If you get it here tonight, it's $199. So we discounted it a lot, but it's an investment. It's $199. So again, that's for those who just say, Lord, I really need more discipline. And then I wanted to mention this real quick. Those of you, how many of you are connected with us and you get the magazine called The Routine? This is something we send out absolutely free. And if you'd like to just stay connected, like I said, it's free. But every month, I'm just going to keep you encouraged. Because you know how you can get excited at a conference like this, and then a month from now, you don't even remember me, and you don't remember your goals at all. But I'm going to show up in your mailbox in a real soft-spoken voice and say, don't you even think about giving up. So if you just want to stay connected, if you raise your hand, the ushers have these little cards. And that way, every month I can give, yeah, you got them? Okay. Raise your hands, and if you'll fill this out and bring it to me, then we will get you connected. It can be an email or it can be a physical letter, whatever you prefer. But it doesn't cost anything. It's just you have to have someone coaching you consistently to keep you motivated, keep you encouraged to achieve your dreams, right? So also, I was wondering, would it be okay to give something away if we draw from these cards? Okay, so those of you who fill these cards, if you'll fill them out pretty quick, I'd love to give you the Imagine Big Kit. I want to draw a name and give that out. And then if you can fill it out pretty quick. And then also, we brought the Pep Talk book. This is the book that has positive declarations in it in the areas of fitness, finances, your family. I've got all the declarations in here that we use. In fact, when you think about this, most people put more emphasis in the area of weight loss. They put more emphasis on what's going in their mouth with no regard to what's coming out of their mouth when it pertains to weight loss. Do you know that I started changing the dialogue that was coming out of my mouth about my body? Instead of saying things like, I know once you hit 40, you got to work out twice as hard. Your metabolism goes down. I started changing all that negative self-talk and started saying I'm fit, firm, and muscular. I'm in the best shape of my life. I have a fast metabolism. I started saying those things, and my body started getting in line with my words. So I want to give a pep talk book away, too. So we'll draw that, too. So are y'all filling these out real fast? Okay. And then if we could just put them in a little bucket, then I can draw that name. Here, Lucy, I'll give you this, and then we'll go back there and give everybody a hug. Have y'all had fun tonight? You had a good time? Do you feel like the Lord's speaking to you about some things you need to get serious about? Well, I believe you are. I love, being up here, it's like you can see people thinking. And I love that because I feel like your wheels are turning. Okay, and I'll give this back to you too afterwards. Okay, so are we almost ready? Oh yeah, y'all have really long names, don't you? This could take a while. Man, I'm glad y'all have these cute little nicknames because I would be sneezing all day if I had to pronounce them all. What's Pastor Dot's real name? Is it that long? It is? Wow. But y'all have such deep meaning in your names, don't you? Man, that's cool. Is anyone in here named like Kate or Jim? No? Wow. You got a normal name? Oh, cute. Yeah. I can pronounce that. Okay, are we ready? Okay, so how are we doing this? Do you want to just, pass them to the side? Pass them to the end and they'll collect them? Okay. So, first of all, we'll give away the pep talk book. This is the language of success through positive declarations. There's some amazing stories in here about the power of your words. You are going to be amazed when you see changes in your life by changing your words. Change what you're saying and you'll change what you're seeing, right? Y'all almost ready? Okay. Yeah, so if you'll just bring them up here. I might not be able to pronounce them. I just realized that. Pastor May, you might have to do this for me. Wow. Y'all sure have been sweet tonight. Thank you for coming on a Saturday night. Yeah. So tomorrow I'm going to teach you how to accelerate your progress because things that should take 5 years, I believe God can do in 1 year. And I'm going to show you how to experience some acceleration. Are we ready? Yes. Okay. Can you pronounce names? Maybe you can help me. Oh, we got a few more. Stir it up, stir it up. So how about I pick it and you say it? Okay. Okay, you ready? Can you say that?
Adekambi.
Adekambi? Adekambi ahisu. Does that sound right? Adekambi. Adekundi. What's this?
Okay. Adekumbi Aisu. Okay. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have a nickname? Do you have a nickname? Yay, you're so welcome. Thank you. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so we got that one. You ready for the next one? Stir them up. Yep, I'm going to need some help.
Dajwana Mims. Okay. All right.
Dajwana Mims? Hey, Imagine Big Kid! Yay! What do you like to be called? Dajwana? Oh,
It's Joanna.
Dawana. Okay. Give me a hug. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Yay! Okay, we got it. Well, again, thank you so much. Y'all have been so sweet. Hey, can I pray over you before we close out? Let's stand up. You know, I think that we torment the devil when we get our dreams back, don't you? Because the one thing he does not want is for you to fulfill your assignment here on earth. He wants you to waste your time. So I think it's so tormenting to him when you start getting that fire back, that vision back to say, no, I'm going to live the life Jesus died to give me, right? So why don't we all just lift our hands to heaven, and let me just pray over you right now. So Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, I just praise you and I thank you for every precious person who came here tonight. Lord, I thank you that you're speaking to their spirits right now. I believe their hearts are open to receive it. And Father, I believe they hear your voice more clearly than they ever have before. No more confusion, no more worry, no more doubt about whether or not it's what you want them to do or if they're just making it up. I believe they're going to have that clarity to know what you want them to pursue. Father, I ask you to give them discipline like they've never known before. That discipline you've given me, cause it to come off in their life, where they conquer procrastination and they stop getting excited and then getting frustrated, and getting excited and getting frustrated. I believe they're going to have discipline. And Lord, I pray Joel 2:25 that you will restore the years that Satan has stolen. All those years that seem to be wasted and seem like a big mistake. I ask you to restore everything that's been stolen. And again, we declare acceleration in the name of Jesus. And we thank you for it, Lord. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor.
The preceding message was brought to you by KingsWord Ministries International. For information about KingsWord Ministries, please write 3323 West Summit Road, Chicago, Illinois 60623. Visit us at kingsword.org for information and additional resources. Thank you for listening to this message. And remember, where the word of a king is, there's power.